Hello, you guys. It is Jenna, and we are here to talk about blood pressure, you guys. I hope you are doing well. I am doing well. Whenever you guys see me, I have time and I am feeling great, which I pray that more of these days will come. God has been talking to me to do what I love to do, which is to talk about wellness. And, I've got some great turnout on one of my videos who said that they want to hear more about wellness. So I will come in here and do that and be obedient. All right, guys. So if you're in the replay, please say hashtag replay. If you are in the actual live, make sure that you are double tapping the screen. That helps me to get more visibility out there. Please make sure if you're watching the replay that you hit that thumbs up button. Only hit the thumbs up button if you love this type of information. Okay, and I would also encourage you to subscribe to the channel. Okay, I will also encourage you to subscribe to the channel so you guys can know when I'm going live and you can get this awesome tea on wellness, because I think a lot of people would benefit from this information. Okay, now let's talk about this story that I came across, shall we? Came across this story, I think, of a manager, a McDonald's manager, and you guys can actually look this up online. Let me clear my throat, okay? McDonald's manager who sent an employee home, and the employee came back to work and did the unthinkable, okay? And this is an awesome topic because this is connected to, I feel, high blood pressure. When your pressure is high, you're not making good decisions. When your blood pressure is high, you're literally in the moment. Your thinking process kind of shuts off. By the way, I'm not a doctor. I am a holistic practitioner. I have been holistic in the holistic realm for over 20 plus years. I have been studying holistic things and measures. I study food. I study how different things help different situations. I try my best to just basically do things holistically. All right. So yeah, let's get back to this story. And please say hello. Please double tap before you even type hello. Double tap the screen, okay? Double tap the screen, please. That really helps us out. Okay, somebody said they make bad decisions regardless of their blood pressure. Well, that's awesome, isn't it? But yeah, when you have high blood pressure, you guys, your mode of driving, your mode of making decisions, your mode of just being who you are is delayed a little bit because you are literally just wrapped up in the situation. How could that young lady who probably already, I'm going to say this, probably already had problems. She already had problems before the situation. In fact, before she did what she did to the manager of McDonald's, and I do send out my condolences to the family because it's very, 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 I think she's a mom. She was a mother of 6. So she leaves 6 children behind without her mother. She was a single mother. And so her children are now having to basically hopefully go with a family member because their mom was wrapped up into this lady who she probably didn't know had a previous situation where she almost did the same thing, but probably, got away with it. And so anyway, what could that young lady have done when she was, what, 26 years old? I'm talking about the lady who did this to the manager. 26 years old. She was sent home and she felt like the lady, was picking on her or whatever. I told my husband yesterday when I first heard this, I said she is a bad manager of emotions. And so our emotions are attached to our blood pressure. Back when I was young and I was, angry out here, I was a mismanager of my emotions. I would cry a lot. I would get angry. I see you guys saying hello. Hello. Would you guys like me to shout you out and say your name? If you will, say yeah. it doesn't matter. But I was a mismanager of my emotions, and it took me to basically be diagnosed with high blood pressure and diabetes and things like that, all the things that I've been diagnosed over the years, to understand about how blood pressure is very important to keep in under control. Okay, hello. Hi, Frank. I see you. Botox detected. Well, let me look. Let me take this darn filter on off if you think I got Botox. I like the filter, you guys. I don't like, I don't know. It just makes me a little more secure when the filter's on. Otherwise, you guys see just me naturally the way my husband sees me. I don't know. But I don't want to look like I have Botox. um, but yeah. So this is what I do. First and foremost, I am in my 40s, you guys. Hi, Miss Kiara. You have a birthday? Well, happy early birthday. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you value it, and I hope you get some great information from this video. All right, so I do eat bananas. Who in here eats bananas? Bananas are good for potassium. You guys can look up what else is good for. I think it's some B6 in it. This is good for my mind, too. Because I'm coming up with this from here. But I think B6 and potassium is at least in there. Okay? And so I woke up this morning. My blood pressure was good, but my heart rate was a little bit high. I said, oh, my goodness. And God told me, oh, eat your bananas. Because every day we lose out, every time you go to the bathroom and things like that, you lose out on all of your electrolytes sometimes. And so if your electrolytes are low, it will affect your blood pressure. It will affect the way your heart rate is and things like that. So I said, let me go ahead and get a banana. My anger is was so bad when I was younger, and it still is. I'm like the Hulk. I identify with the Hulk when I saw that on Avengers. And it was like trying to get, the Hulk mad and things like that. He was like, bring out the Hulk. And Iron Man would like stick him with little things to try to get the Hulk out. This was like, man, he was looking at him like he was crazy. Anywho, the Hulk said one thing. He said, I'm always angry. And I turned to my husband. This had to be a long time ago because that movie is old as heck. I turned to my husband. I said, I identify with that. And that that right there helped me on my quest to control my anger. So I'm always angry. I just know how to control it. Okay? Because your anger, that power, it is a power that God gives us. It's a gift. You don't have to be docile. You don't have to be shy. You don't have to not be able to communicate. Girl, yeah. You don't have to, not communicate with people and internalize everything. Because when you internalize everything, all it's going to do is stay within your system and still run your blood pressure up. And then if somebody says boo to you, you're going to let them have it. You guys, tap the screen twice. Tap it twice. That would be nice. Okay? Also, type. Say hello, I'm Jenna. Thank you guys for subscribing. If you like, I don't mean to lick my fingers like this. Oh my gosh. That's what you do behind the scenes, right? No. Because whatever you do behind the scenes, you're going to do in front of the scenes. We're one person. So yeah, I identify with the Hulk. You got to control your anger. So this is my thing. With the lady who did that at the McDonald's in Detroit, you guys let me know. What could she have done instead of coming back up there and doing what she did and ruining everyone's lives and ruining her own? She could have quit the job. She could have just stayed home and recalibrated some things. Nobody told her to control herself. But how do you tell somebody to control themselves when their blood pressure's high? I know at my worst of my worst, One thing I did not like when people said is calm down. Oh, you tell me calm down, I'm going to turn up. That would make me even more angry. You guys, tap the screen, tap the screen, tap the screen, tap the screen, tap the screen. Like, tap it twice and something nice will happen. Go ahead and tap that screen for your girl. We need more likes. We need more action, right? So yeah, that's the worst thing that I want. Anybody could say to me is to calm down, right? Well, yeah, I would turn up, but after I would turn up, I would feel my heart rate. I would feel my chest get tight. I couldn't sleep. I would say bad things to my husband and anybody around me. I would cuss. I would lash out. And I did not like that part of me. You know, I asked God to change me back 2, 3 years ago. I said, you know what? I am so tired of being angry all the time. So I went and I tried to get a therapist and things like that. I didn't try. I actually got a therapist. And I went to her for a little bit, but I was still angry. I was still angry, and she said something to me. She said, "I'm sure nobody takes advantage of you." We were talking one day. She said, "Oh, I doubt if anyone takes advantage of you." I'm like, what is that supposed to mean? Oh, because I have an anger problem, or because I say what I say and I assert myself and I do all of this stuff that was really, to be honest, a coping mechanism. It was a coping mechanism. I was trying to just act tough because I just thought that's what I was supposed to do for people to not mess with me. And so that kind of hurt me. So later on, after basically I stopped going to her, and I ended up going back to her a few years ago and whatever. But at the end of the day, and I don't put down therapy. Therapy is what's needed. Therapy is what's needed for if you need paperwork, if you need to, do what you need to do to get what you need to get so you don't put yourself around a whole bunch of, drama and things that are going to basically tick you off, if you will. And so I value therapists. However, your base is God. You need God. God has literally helped me change who I am, right? And so a few years ago, about 2 years ago, I said, God, please change me. Please, please, please come and do what you need to do. Now, when you ask God to do that, hello, I see you. I see you so much. 23 people and only 11 likes. Exactly. Um, I don't know how to pronounce your name, so I'm just going to say Tube. Exactly. So when you ask God to change you or do anything for you, he is not a genie. He is not going to just go ahead. Excuse me, guys. My throat cracks every time I talk about God. I think that's the enemy just trying to stop me from talking about God. But that's what I do. I rebuke that in Jesus' name. Yes. When you ask him to change you or come in and do anything for you, he is going to, basically, you have to be involved in it. So I started reading the word. I started doing things. I started learning about just different people in the Bible stories and trying to see how that kind of equated to my life or how the parallels were there and things like that. I did that. And here I am today. I said, you know what? I was doing wellness. I was doing hair. I was doing, my channel has been kind of, I'm not going to say all over the place, but we've had to adapt because things have changed so many times on this app. And so here I am today, and I'm here to teach you. God said, you know what, don't just talk about the technical things of blood pressure. Let them into your personality and your journey and how anger has been a part of, your problems, because they say anger nestles in the bosom of a fool. So me being angry does not benefit me. It actually takes quality time and quality of life away from me. So now I've slowed down in my thinking. Remember I said, when you're angry, you don't think. Remember I said that? You don't think. That young lady who did that at the McDonald's in Detroit, she does not think. She did not think about, oh, if I go back and I do this to this lady, I'm going to be in jail possibly for the rest of my life. I am going to, not be able to have a family, not be able to have, get married or go on and get another job and grow, and I don't know if she has children, and things like that. She was not thinking about the aftermath of going up there and doing what she did for something that was temporary, something that was easily handled. If you don't like the manager, which I've seen this at a lot of fast food places. Have you guys noticed that a lot of these stories are coming from fast food joints? There was a thing of a few weeks ago. A mom went up there. I think her hamburger wasn't done fully or whatever. She went in and she told the worker, "Look, I want my money back. I want my money back. I want my money back." And she was throwing a little bit of expletives and things like that. And then the worker, her children were right there. I'm sorry, not the worker's children, the customer's children. Her two, I think, two girls were right there, and the worker basically decided to throw water on the children, or soda, whatever it was, throw a liquid on the children. And the mom turned into the Hulk. I mean, she went in and she ripped the darn computer out of the whatever. She got behind the counter. Somebody in the back allowed her to come behind the counter, and she proceeded to just go on and go off on that lady physically. I think it was the blood pressure. I think, look, what do you guys think? You think her blood pressure was high? Do you think the workers' blood pressure was high? Of course. Working at fast food, standing up, dealing with different people. You guys, double tap the screen, please. Double tap the screen. Um, your blood pressure is going to be elevated, just naturally. You know what I mean? And a lot of young people work at fast food joints, so they're not on blood pressure medicine or anything like that. Probably haven't even been diagnosed with blood pressure. When do people get diagnosed with blood pressure? In their 30s? I was blessed enough to be diagnosed with blood pressure in my 20s because I had other problems, you know? So I had to figure things out. So yeah, if your blood pressure is always high, guys, you're not going to be well mentally. It is what it is. You're probably not going to hear that from no one else on these apps because they're not aware of it. One thing about holistic, you understand that one thing, not double tapping, you don't engage comments. I engage them, but I'm of a particular age and I have to get information out there. So if I engage all comments, I will never get the information out there. But I do engage comments when it's appropriate. Okay? But yeah, please double tap the screen. um but yeah, a lot of people do not basically align. Okay, one thing about being holistic is you want to get to the base root cause. Okay, the base root cause of why something is happening. So if you are a person who goes off at people all the time, if you are a person who has road rage, which a lot of people do, I've just recently realized that people have road rage. In fact, I was one of them years ago. Somebody honked their horn at me, and I literally, just basically followed them very aggressively for about, a quarter of a mile, maybe more. And to the point where they pulled over and was like, "Hey, what's going on? What's up?" I kept driving because they beat me. And that was, a long time ago, about 20 years ago, or maybe 15, 16 years ago when that happened. And I'm telling that story because nowadays, everybody honks you. As soon as the light changes, someone behind you is honking you. I don't know if that happens to you where you guys are, but it definitely happens to me where I am. And they honk you. And then when I first started driving just maybe a month ago, I just like, what is going on? Why do people beep you and things like that? Now I'm growing a tolerance to it because it's very dangerous to beat people at a green light, or if a green light first changes, because if you go right out there could be somebody who runs the light. And that's one thing I see on a daily basis too. A lot of car wrecks. Okay, I see a lot of people's cars mangled every day driving it around. I don't know if it's because they're getting those cars from an auction. I don't know if they're because their cars they were in a car wreck, but it's just ridiculous how people are driving around, and I can say why, but I'm gonna say just the base root cause of why people drive the way they drive is because of blood pressure problems. And so if you're going through your life every day, like one thing about social media, and this is somebody anybody who actually does social media and wants to become a content creator. When I first started doing social media, when things like this live was available back in 2016, that's when especially my first or my app of choice was Facebook. Okay, that's where I started off. That's where Facebook was the first, I think, first app that allowed you to go live. And so when I would go live, people would say whatever to me, and my blood pressure would get up, and people were actually watching me to see how I would respond to people. I didn't realize that at first, but during the time of doing that, I realized well, people wanted to be entertained. But all the while people wanted to be entertained with my clapbacks and all of that, my blood pressure would go high and things like that. And so I had to get rid of social media because of, first of all, social media got rid of me. I had went through so many things because of the way I would respond. So I credit basically going live, engaging with the audience as my first teacher of developing a way to respond to the what they would call back then trolls or people who didn't agree with me or complete strangers. It really taught me how to be professional, to not let the comments get to me, to learn how to ignore when I need to learn how to engage when I need to, and things like that. And so I would encourage anybody who wants to start, making videos and things like that. First of all, go live because they say when you go live, you get more subscribers, you build an audience. I want to build my audience for wellness because that's what my base root is. It's not the Britney stories or the Latruths. It is not the So Chanels. It's not really even celebrities, things that I try to do. Things like this, wellness is what I do naturally and I love it. And so that's what they say. If you want to create content, you want to do things that you love. And of course, whatever you love should align with the rules of the app, whatever that is. And so with wellness, I have to be careful that you know that I am not a doctor and I am not here to diagnose or mitigate anything that you guys may be dealing with. But I'm just basically sharing what works for me and what I have seen work for other people. When I give the information, I share it on here. That's basically what it is, okay? So all the information that I say during my videos from here and thereafter, just know that you want to look up your own information. You want to make sure that, it aligns with what you're doing and things like that. And of course, if you want to talk to me privately, you can always email me. You can always email me. Okay. Let's see. Hold on. Well, if my admin is in here, can you go ahead and pin my email up if they want to get a consultation and things like that? Hello. Hello. Can you please get a shout out? If you want a shout out, guys, just give a super chat, and it doesn't matter how much the super chat is, I will shout you out. I learned that from another creator out here. You know, yeah. So if you want a shout out, go ahead and give a super chat, and I will definitely shout you out. Okay. So getting back to the story of the lady who did what she did at McDonald's, and I would encourage you to go ahead and look it up because it's all through YouTube, that story. I mean, literally, you can kind of look at the lady and see that, yes, she was probably, a little bit unhinged and, using social media as her diary. In fact, before she did what she did, she came on live and she said, oh, this lady is going to X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z. And boom, 2-3 days later, she performed it. That's another thing, you guys. Words have life, right? So I have been kind of in a funk for the last, after a while, funk is supposed to be like temporary, like a day or two. Baby, I've been in a funk for 4 years. That's not a funk. That's just the way of thinking at that point. That is a way of life for you to think what they would call stinking thinking. Words have life. You get what I'm saying? God talked to me. He said, look, if you only have one person or two people in there, keep going, keep pushing through. Because obviously or honestly, all I'm supposed to do is get to one person to realize that their blood pressure is the base root cause of their anger, their decisions, and some other problems that they may be going through physically. If I get to one person to explain, to basically get their blood pressure under wraps, so other things in your life will start to basically, you know, um, pan out or level out, then I've done my job. Okay, so speak good words. Speak good things to yourself, even if things doesn't look well. I look at other people's lives and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want hundreds of people in here, but sis, and I'm talking to myself, baby, you don't do the work. You haven't gone live. This is your first time going live with this subject in a long time, and so you expect to go to someone else's level who literally has been doing the work, who's literally basically paved the way for themselves to go ahead and have hundreds of people watching them. You have to be patient, and that's another thing that anger prevents: patience. When you're angry, you're not patient. And patience is not something that we are born with. Patience is something that we learn. As children, you ask your mom for something, you want it. I read this story years ago. I probably even did a video of it, of a young man who asked his mom for these $500 or $5,000 headphones. It was either 500 or 5,000, I don't remember. And because his mom said no, he slightly just went on and did whatever, and now he doesn't have his mom anymore because he wanted what he wanted. When we were children, that's what we did. We want what we want when we want it. We don't have patience. Children do not have patience. You have to teach your children patience. And for you to teach your child patience, you have to be patient as the parent. And so as we get older in God and things like that, God will show us patience. So don't ever ask for patience, because to ask for patience is to be tested. And I have been tested. And so therefore my patience has grown very, very thick over the years. It's things that I, have wanted right away that I have not had and still haven't had. I'm still being patient and waiting on God's timing. Things don't necessarily happen in your time. And so with this lady who did this to this manager in Detroit, at a McDonald's, she didn't have patience. She didn't even have the thought process to be patient. She didn't even think that she could go and get another job. If you don't like somebody, just get away from them. If you don't like somebody, don't deal with it. I remember I just had a job and I quit. I didn't even keep the job 3 months. I didn't even get the chance to make the union, because the union of that job, you had to work for 3 months. Now, I'm going to tell you, I told you I have anger issues. They're still there. Oh, well, of course, they're not going to go away. It's a part of my DNA, right? It's a part of what God made me to be. He made me to be stern. When I need to be stern with somebody, I do it. But I don't insult them. I don't cuss. I don't make myself, not look like a Proverbs 31 woman, because that's what I am, a Proverbs 31 woman. I'm a queen, and I am to act as such. It is what it is. But yeah, I have anger issues. Of course we do. All right. But yeah, so basically, by God, I'm having a moment where I forgot what the heck I was talking about. What the heck was I talking about? I was trying to tell a story. Let me see. Oh, thank you, God. You're so good. So yeah, I had an issue with the manager. I quit. Didn't make 3 months. Lady was like, get on your darn line and cut your light on and things like that. Now, when I was 28 years old, I love to think back when 28, because when I was 28, my anger was at its worst. Okay. It was at its worst. Don't mess with me. I'm letting you know my body is this, that, and the other. My mind And when she talked to me in that way, I immediately went into a thought, meaning a thought of, should I talk to her about this? Mind you, that lady only got one time to talk to me that way because the next day I quit. Not because of her, but because simply my blood pressure was not doing well. And I had several people walk up to me and say, if you're not feeling well, don't work. I call them angels, because anybody who comes up to you and they tell you something that you need to hear that can literally save your life, they're not just someone, they are an angel that God gave to you to basically get you out of there to save your life. So if somebody comes up to you and they say, look, this, that, and the other, don't take it as judgment. Don't take it as someone being mean. Take it as maybe a sign that God is saying to get out of that situation. So she said, cut your line on. I felt like crap. I was there because I didn't want to lose my job. I felt like I needed the job. But somebody came up to me and said, look, your life is one thing. You can't get that back if you're not feeling well. Because they said, why are you here if you don't feel well? I said, well, I can't take off. They said, well, you are first. Your health is your wealth. And so, that was just happening. And then I had other people say eat, because I had a problem with eating and things like that, because my stress levels. And not only that, the job didn't give us a break, didn't even give us a 30-minute break to eat, which I think should be illegal. So she said that to me, and I said, you know what, should I say something to her? And God said, no, just let her get away with it. When somebody says something to you, first and foremost, I would say just be silent. Don't even allow it to get to you. Just keep it moving. If it happens again, then you say something, but you say something respectfully. You don't disrespect them. You don't make yourself look like you're the problem. You basically you talk to them and you ask God to give you the words, that are correct. You have a right to be talked to with respect. Don't let anybody disrespect you, but let somebody just have one time, because it might have been because they have a bad day. It might have been because they're testing you out, but you just go to God and you say, you know what, God, I'm going to let it go. If it happens again, especially if you like me, that if I had said something right when I was angry, I just would have just lightly, very politely, just probably got fired. I like the fact that I walk off the job. I didn't get fired. I walked off. Okay. I said, I'm done. And I know that when you talk within the parameters of being angry, you're going to say more than what you want to say. And you don't want to do that. Okay. So you want to always go away. Guys, double tap the screen, please. I am Jenna. Double tap the screen, double tap the screen, double tap the screen. Only if you like this information. So now that I'm 40 plus years old, I'm like, wow, I got to the point where I can think first. I let my heart rate go down. I let all the anger go away. I let all of that shock, if you will, go away. And then, of course, I didn't even get a chance to say anything. She didn't get a chance to say it because the next day I went on, I left because I wasn't feeling well at the time. My heart rate at that time was going low. I mean, I had gotten to the point where my heart rate had gotten all the way down to 40. Technically, I probably should have been on the floor, passed out. But God restored me and he healed me. It took me 2 hours to recover one day. It just was not good for me. For some reason, I was stricken with something that attacked my circulation. It was too much stress on me. I had to leave. Kudos, my hat goes off to everyone who can do retail. I think retail is something that you start when you're young and you grow a muscle. But I had a lady walk up to me and said that she had done the same job I was doing for 27 years, and then she acquired an illness. And I was like, God, is this a sign, like, to get out of this? And I still didn't listen, and I could complete, I stayed there, and then eventually, when my body started to not operate well, I had to leave. I didn't have a job. I didn't have anything. Basically, I did have a backup plan, and that backup plan is what we're doing now, of me and my husband. But I walked off not having any money. I just put me first. And I was very nervous, and I didn't know what was next, but I had to just have faith. They say it's impossible for you to please God without faith, because if you don't have faith, you're not basically allowing God to do what he does. He makes the impossible possible. And so now he said, you will go out there and you will start your wellness series again, and you will put out the information out there, because this is a time where people need information about wellness. They need information about this so they can go and live their life correctly, because there's so many people out here who are not living their life the way they should. They're going to things to, help with their stress and help with their anger and grief and whatever is going on. They're going to different things and that are not right, and in fact are causing more issues. You want to go to things that are healthy. You want to eat apples. Apples are very, very important in your life. You know how they say an apple a day keeps the away? Let's talk about what apples have. The skin in and of itself have all the nutrition in it. The flesh of the apple is really, really good for you. It has, and different apples have different, health benefits. So you have the green apple, you have the Macintosh apple, you have the pink lady apple, you have so many apples out here, the Fuji apple. And each of those apples have different things. But I think all apples have fiber, which is another thing, you guys, we have to get more of. Fiber, fiber, fiber. We don't get our required amount of fiber. So we're walking around literally, stuffed up, stopped up, if you will, full of toxins, full of things. And those toxins actually basically affect your mind. Okay? So when you start to cleanse yourself and detox yourself, you will find that it will make more room for healthy things. It's like once you clean your body out, excuse me, you guys, I'm going to clear my throat. Once you clean yourself out, or you clean a room, I like to talk in analogies to give you a visual. You clean a room, and the room looks immaculate. You took your time. It took days for you to do it. It took power, or you might have paid somebody to do it, to cleanse your room. You're not going to be so quick to want to dirty it up again. You want to basically keep it that way, right? Well, same thing with your body. Same thing with your body. Once you cleanse it out, your body is not going to necessarily want you to foul it up again. So I would encourage you to do what you need to do lightly, okay? Nothing drastic. And just start to basically incorporate different things that are nice for your body, and just go and do that, if you will. Right? Incorporate more fresh vegetables. Incorporate fruit. I love fruit. I love yogurt, Greek yogurt. I would suggest that for just for the probiotic part. The calcium, that's what they say is calcium in it. When you're 40 plus years old, you need more calcium. When your calcium is good, it does help your heart. You can look it up. Calcium is actually good for the heart. I remember at my worst times where I could just walk and my heart rate just goes off key and I don't feel good, I would eat like some cheddar and I would feel good immediately. Hi, I see you. Thanks for coming in and saying hello. So yeah, certain dairy does help, but it does have high salt. So remember, and then boom, for getting to this part of the video, let's talk about the sodium. So a lot of us, yeah, there are people out here, including myself, who eat things that will spike your blood pressure, that will cause your blood pressure to rise. Of course, obviously, high sodium content, high sodium foods, processed foods, fast food, will make your blood pressure high. I am in the fast food business as far as I do deliveries for Uber and for DoorDash and things like that. And 9 times out of 10, that's all we do is we deliver fast food. And so because of that, I know that people who eat fast food are going to be more agitated. Those are the people who, and depending on what they're eating, like if I'm delivering fast food like the Burger Kings and the McDonald's and things like that, I expect them to want their food as fast as possible, because they're going to contact you and say, where are you? Where are you? This, that, and the other. The people who pay a little more for their food and maybe get to maybe the Chipotle's and things, even though Chipotle is a lot of sodium, and a lot of Chipotle people, they want their stuff fast too. They want that vinaigrette. That vinaigrette is great, but it's full of sodium. It's full of salt. And the thing about salt is if you constantly eat salt, you're going to build a tolerance. You're not going to taste it. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, my food is very bland. So that forces you to what? Add more salt. And then your blood pressure is getting higher and higher and higher. And so when I talk to people and things like that, I look at them, I say, you know what? And I have compassion for them. I go into prayer and I feel sorry for them. I say, oh, their blood pressure is high. Why? Because I know it. Because my blood pressure was high or is high or gets high when I'm angry. And then if I'm eating foods that are not helping me to lower it, I'm not going to have a good day. Okay. There's another story of a high blood pressure place. It was a hot dog place. And a young man or a man got into some woman's face and things like that. They were arguing, they were fussing and fighting. I don't know if she texted her son. I don't know if she called her son. I don't know if she looked back at her son. But her son basically viewed the situation, the altercation. He slightly, lightly, very politely went to the car, got what he got, did what he did, and now that man who was fussing at the lady is no longer fussing at anyone because he's no longer here. But that story, of course, happened at a hot dog place. Hot dogs are full of sodium. Before you eat another hot dog or you buy another hot dog, you go into the market, you go into and you look at the different hot dogs and you see the sodium. The average person eats 2 hot dogs at a time. 2. So if that hot dog has 500 milligrams of sodium, you're eating 1,000 milligrams of sodium. Plus you're putting ketchup, you're putting mustard. Ketchup and mustard are condiments. You get a lot of sneaky salt and sugar in your condiments. That's why I don't eat ketchup for the most part. I try to, be careful about condiments on my food because that is sneaky salt. I see you. Hello. Okay. And so with that being said, I'm going to give you that. Look at the sodium. And then I want you to basically, and this is to my people who actually test their blood pressure, you should have a blood pressure machine at home. You should have a blood pressure machine at home. You should not just get your blood pressure tested when you go to the doctors to get your yearly or bi-yearly checkup. Okay, because I'm gonna tell you, when you go to the doctor's office, your blood pressure is gonna be naturally higher because you're nervous. It's gonna be a little bit elevated, and if it's a little bit elevated when it's there, whether it's fear or not, if it's too high, it's too high. Your blood pressure is high. You're probably going to need to have medication. So what you want to do is you want to get a blood pressure monitor at home, which they're very, very affordable, I think. High blood pressure is mostly because of high visceral fat. Yes. I don't know what that means, but you're probably right, Corey. But visceral fat, I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's the brown or whatever. I can't say fat. I have to say adipose on here. Okay, so she's high blood pressure is mostly because of high visceral adipose. Okay, adipose tissue. Yes. I'm sure that is true. You know what? Let me go ahead and look that up. Since you took the time and you actually typed that up, I'm going to go further and look it up. What is okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and read this. Oh my gosh, this is a whole nother video. Okay, hold on. That's why I love doing these videos, because I learn stuff too. Like, that's like the gift of God when you're giving information. Be an open vessel for information too, because I can spread this on to another video. So I do appreciate that. I am not a person who doesn't want information, because guess what? I don't know everything. I don't know everything. And this is a community. So I do appreciate that. Okay, so visceral adipose tissue is a type of adipose tissue that is stored within the abdominal cavity. Hello. Yes, that's what we've heard so many times, that if you have high belly visceral, I'm sorry, high belly adipose tissue, that you are more susceptible to, you know, heart issues, what they call myocardiac infarction. That's what it's really called. Yes, I know a little bit of terminology. Uh-huh. It's stored within the abdominal cavity and surrounds internal organs. So that's how you can be what they would call small or thin and still have a myocardial infarction. Because people think that, one thing about being overweight, and you can see that you're overweight, is that you can do something about it. But imagine all of your internal parts have that type of situation going on. You can't see it, right? There's a man out here called, what was his name? His name was Luke Perry, right? Luke Perry, he left this earth because of a myocardial infarction, okay? Luke Perry, we know him as Dylan, right? And one thing he admitted to having, he said that he ate a lot of steak and things like that. And he was a thin man. And you would be surprised how many thin people have issues with this problem, which is visceral adipose tissue. Okay, so it surrounds internal organs such as the liver, pancreas, and the intestines. Okay, unlike subcutaneous adipose tissue, which is located just beneath the skin, visceral adipose tissue is not visible and can only be assessed through imaging like MRIs and CAT scans. Okay, so adipose tissue associated with health risk, metabolic syndrome, excess adipose tissue is linked to conditions such as high blood pressure, high blood sugar, and abdominal cholesterol levels. Thank you so much to the person. I think their name was Corey. Thank you so much for saying that, because you're wrapping this video up in the way it should go. I talk about the spiritual aspect, but this is very, 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 very serious, because if you have that high abdominal cavity issue where you have that visceral adipose tissue, it opens you up to different things that you don't want. Okay? Somebody says steak improves the metabolism. Yes, for some people. I'm also into blood type eating. Okay, so that's another video at another time. I came across some information. An older lady was talking about eating according to your blood type. I think that's awesome. And if you guys want to talk about that one day, just let me know and say sure. Just type up sure. I know what that means. Okay. Type 2 diabetes, increased adipose tissue, okay, can contribute to insulin resistance, okay, leading to higher blood sugar levels. So when your blood sugar is high, what did you say? What did you say? You said, what about my comment? I didn't see it because I'm reading. If you want me to see it, type it up again, okay? So type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular issues, okay, all right? So if you have a big abdomen, it puts you at risk for heart disease, as it can lead to inflammation and other metabolic disturbances. Okay? Certain, research says that higher levels of visceral adipose tissue may increase the risk of certain types of okay? Hormonal changes, visceral adipose tissue, okay, can affect hormone levels, leading to further wellness complications. Okay, so managing that adipose tissue that is around your abdomen would serve you very well. So thank you so much, Corey, for bringing that up, because that's very informational. So basically, try your best to get that down. Now, one thing that will help get that down, guys, is managing your stress levels. Managing your stress levels will do wonders. Now, how do you do that? You get your rest, you drink your water, you can do some breathing exercises. Guys, double tap the screen. Also, if you can, please donate to this, give a super chat. It helps out. If you don't do it today, you can do it later on. When you come across my videos again, that's fine. But the Bible says to ask and you shall receive. So I'm not going to sit here and act like I don't need it. You know what I mean? I do need the likes. I also need the donation. So I do appreciate that. Um, but yeah, when you have that, you want to make sure that your stress levels are down. And that's something that is tough on me because I have a very, very, very stressful life. I work several hours. I drive. I think driving is full of stress. But with God, you can, anything's possible. So even with me driving, I can do things to help myself not to overstress. But that's the first place where a lot of my body will grow, my abdomen will grow, and my back filled in motion will grow too. You know, those are signs that I am in insulin resistance. And insulin resistance almost took me out in my 40s. You know what I mean? Right before my birthday and things like that, it happened. And I asked God to help me. And he did. And now I'm here. I'm talking about it. And I hope that it is helping you guys out. All right. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. When you, hello, are you there? I am THERE there. THEIR means that you're talking about people. So their relationship, THEIR, is wonderful. But over there is THERE. Okay, I like to educate because I didn't know the difference between there and there. Somebody had to tell me, like two and two. Someone had to teach me. So when people type that up, I want to give you that that clarity. Okay. All right. So I pray that everyone here, you guys, I hope you benefit, at least one person benefited from this information. Our next video will be something great, something that God tells me to talk about, something that's going to be helpful. Again, if you love this type of content, wellness content, tips, and things like that, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, and also make sure that you cut your notifications on, because if you don't cut your notifications on, you won't know. Let's see if I can get 3 more likes to this video before I go. Can I get another few taps on the screen? If anybody has any questions pertaining to the subject matter, go ahead and type it up and hopefully I can answer. This is your time to have a holistic practitioner. And all the jokers and all the people who just typing to type, please don't type up anything. I'm really trying to see if real people wanted a question to be answered, and maybe I can answer it. Okay, so Leah, go ahead, tap the screen, tap the screen. Yep. So while you guys are deciding whether you are going to do that, let me give you 5 quick tips. 5 quick tips that I have found to help manage my stress. Number 1, prayer and the word. That's number 1. I would suggest every time I go live, every time I make a video, I have to mention God. I have to mention Jesus. I have to mention how God has healed me, how he has helped me, how he has molded me into this woman that I am today. I would suggest that you read the word. If you're not saved, if you're living your life wayward, I would suggest that you get yourself together and get saved and honor God and knows that he is the one. He gave his only begotten son so we can have everlasting life now and forever, that he loves us and he's looking for you to come to him. Because the thing about it is, this body is our temple. And if you don't take care of it, you're not able to do what God wants you to do. You may be out here, like if you're not doing God's will, you're doing the devil's will. It is what it is. And so you have to decide today who you will serve. So I pray that you get into Christ. That's number 1. The second thing, guys, make sure you're not eating a whole bunch of sodium. Sodium and the fast food sodium and the prepackaged food sodium is totally different than you shaking some salt or, some Himalayan or some iodized or whatever. It's totally different from the salt that we use at home to season our food. So be very, very cautious on how much fast food you're eating. And there's different classifications of, you have your fast food, and then you have your prepared foods out that may not be as bad, but at the end of the day, all fast food has a lot of sodium. Why? Because it's public, and sodium does kill germs. Three, you want to make sure that you're getting a lot of rest. You're getting enough rest. When you're my age, when you're perimenopausal, menopausal, things like that, rest becomes a taxing situation. Getting good night's sleep is taxing because your body is all over the place. Your adrenals are kicking in when you're not relaxed. Um, Ladies who are in perimenopause and menopause, you want to make sure your estrogens are not too high, but high enough to make you feel great. When your estrogen is too low, it's very stressful in your body, and it kicks in your adrenals. Okay. Okay, number four, you want to eat things that have plenty of potassium in it. Okay, potassium. Eat your bananas. Even Greek yogurt has potassium in it. Look up foods that have potassium in it. And number five, last and not but not least, you want to make sure that you are working your body out. So you want to walk. Walking is one of my favorite exercises to do. I walk. That's one thing I do. I walk. I go up downstairs. I do this. I do that. I love to walk and move this body. Not on a treadmill. Treadmill is just, I have a treadmill. I've used it. But I love walking in nature because you're getting, especially during the day, not when it's hot, but before it's starting to get dark, in the summertime, it gets dark about maybe, 9. So you want to go out about 7, 8 when the sun is down. It's not too hot. And you want to make sure you're getting that vitamin D. And so you get that vitamin D from outside. And one thing our bodies love is it loves to get vitamin D at least 20 minutes a day. So go out there. If you can, don't have a jacket on. Just let your body just absorb that good old vitamin D. Just like if you have this, I have a charger that we use, and we put power to it, and then this charger lasts us literally all day after we've powered it up. Well, this was developed, I feel, after the body. The body gets the vitamin D and it charges you up so you can get throughout your day. Supplements are just that, to supplement what you're not getting in your diet. So, of course, you can get the vitamin D. You can get all your vitamins through your supplements. You could try, but it's not the same by just going out there and getting vitamin D versus just taking a vitamin D supplement. Okay? All right. So, those are my tips. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more. Guys, people, pray for your girl. I'm going to pray for you guys. Just stick with it. I know it's tough out here, but through God, anything is possible. All right. I will see you next time.